let's answer the homies question, man. And we're gonna put it back on the screen. What do you think about our DB signings, Rod? That is your team. Go ahead and handle it. Unfortunately, rest, rest in peace to the knees of to Kohu. Rest in
Artie Burns too, man. He just got here. He just got
Ernie
here, man.
Burns, like it was already very, very thin at that position group, and it just got a little bit thinner, man. So the floor is yours, Rod.
Well, and here's a disheartening thing too, Herbie. Kader Kohu is arguably the guy to play nickel for us, right? So, hopefully, I actually don't know the extent of his injury. I figured he would be back before. I know Artie Burns is out, but I thought Cater would come back towards the beginning of the season and whatnot. I don't know how bad his injury is, but to answer your question, Wes, I think the Dolphins did about as decent a job as they could do for the signings. And the reason why I say that is because the guys that we signed were either solid in another location, like Mike Hilton with the Bengals, or Jack Jones is a player who he's kind of like a high risk, high reward type of guy, to where he's a playmaking cornerback, and that's something that the Dolphins were sourly missing last season, right? Like we didn't have much of a playmaking element on defense. We really haven't had that since the loss of Xavier Howard. So when you look at guys like Jack Jones and Mike Hilton, obviously they don't scream, awesome cornerback tandem. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we need we need bodies there, right? At safety, we'll be fine. We have Milfamu, we have Minka, who I'm going to get to shortly with how he's looked in training camp. But I'm okay with the signings given where we are right now, right? The beauty of the defense that we have, a lot of people don't realize that the Dolphins were a top 10 defense last season, whether people realize it or not. And we're in a second year under Weaver. And we have a strong front seven, especially at the D line, which I'll get to when we start talking about everything going on in camp. So I think the signings for now, given an ideal situation based on how the defense may play, for now we'll be all right. Like the Dolphins are still going to have to work some things out. I'm not saying that we are set at a position, but we need bodies in camp right now, right? And at least a guy like Jack Jones is a boomer bust type of player. At least a guy like Mike Hilton has veteran experience and has been a solid cornerback in this league. So I'm okay with the signings for now. You know what I mean? Until we figure something else out.
Okay, so let's go ahead and just go on transition and just have a full on Dolphins conversation then, man. So Rob, we are 1 week into training camp. I'm just so excited to say that. I'm so happy to say that. Oh
Beautiful.
my god.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. So we are 1 week down in the training camp. Next week is going to be full pads, so it's going to be much more closer to actual football to see these dudes in pads to see how
Yes.
they are moving with pads. So before we get into like the whole macro training camp and just the whole season, how do you feel about the Dolphins and what are your observations and what have you been able to glean and learn and inquire about the first week of training camp package down in Miami Gardens, my guy?
So this first week of training camp, Herbie, obviously coming into this season, look, at the end of last season, I think me, like many other fans, I was dejected, right? When you leave the season on a sour note, it kind of rides with you up until the offseason. But the beauty of football is the offseason is so long that we have time to heal, right? You have time to get over whatever pain, whatever. And the beauty of football, too, Herbie, is that football is a sport, maybe one of the rare sports where a team's fortunes can change at the drop of a dime, right? And the Dolphins are a team that has experienced this in the past. We went from a 1-15 team in '07 to an 11-5 team in 2008. Now, there's a lot of context and other variables involved in this, obviously. But, football is that kind of sport to where, if you're a fan of a maligned team, even if things weren't good for you the previous year, there was real deal hope for next year depending on moves that were made. And look, the feeling that I'm getting through training camp, Herbie, the Dolphins players especially did a lot of talking this offseason about changing the culture, about making sure that there's more leadership. And you know what? Based on things that have been reported and things that I've read and seen, it seems like it's there's truth to it, right? The reason I say this, Herbie, is because you know, for example, Tua has been holding Tyreek Hill accountable, right? Like on day one, they were asking Tua questions about Tyreek being reintegrated with the team, and Tua just kept it a buck, And some people didn't like what he said, but Tua was basically saying that, look, everything is a work in progress, because at the end of the day, Tyreek's antics did affect the team while he was away, right? And I like seeing Tua have the cojones to be like, yo, man, like, you know what I'm saying? He's got to do his part to work his way back in with us, right? And it's even shown in camp that Tua and Waddle have really had a really, really good connection between the two of them. But Herbie, Tua and Waddle were two guys who, I expect to do well, right? The problems that these guys have is that they deal with injuries, right? Waddle is often banged up. Tua, you can write a book on this dude's injuries. But the things that I got out of the camp were the things that I was really looking for, Herbie, right? Jalen Wright has impressed in camp, Herbie, which is something that sounds really good. Like, it's really good news to hear, right? And even better than that is Devon Achane, Herbie. As the days progress in camp, he's becoming you're hearing more and more of his name, him creating explosive plays. And a lot of that, Herbie, is also due to the fact that at least the first string offensive line, despite the absence of Aaron Brewer, who's on the sidelines right now, he'll be back to play to start the season, but he's dealing with his own things off the field. But Patrick Paul, Herbie, our left tackle. I mean, he got real deal wins. Now, granted, no pads yet, but he got some wins on Chop Robinson. He got some wins on Bradley Chubb in practice, right? He's looking better than he did last year, right? Jonah Savanea. They've slotted him at the left guard, and he's been moving bodies, bro. He's been creating lanes, Herbie, and that was something we were desperately in need of, especially when you consider we had turnstiles like Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones at the guard spot. So it's refreshing to hear that our running backs are actually getting running lanes in camp. And here's the thing, Herbie, the Dolphins defense is going to be better than I think people think. Granted, the cornerback situation needs to get worked out, but when you look at the three-headed monster we're going to have at pass rush, Jalen Phillips is back, Bradley Chubb is back, Chop Robinson is back, and they've all been making noise in camp, right? Shout out to Hammer, fins up, baby. You know what I mean? So we got our three-headed monster at the pass rush. Still got good linebackers in Terrell Dodson and Jordan Brooks. And then and the guy who's making waves in camp, Herbie, that you love to hear about is Minka Fitzpatrick, right? I think I want to say it was in yesterday's practice. He caught a nasty pick on Zach Wilson, who on a pass intended for Taj Washington, right? And it was a great read on the play. He was at the line of scrimmage, dropped back in coverage, boom, caught a pick. And Minka's been making plays all training camp long so far, and it turns out, is a really good fit for Weaver's defense. And the beauty of Weaver's defense, Herbie, is the fact that Weaver is the type of defensive coordinator who likes to mix and match his coverages. He likes to mix and show different fronts, show different disguises. He likes to put different guys in different situations. So, he throws a lot of different looks at opposing offenses that kind of keep them on their toes. And when you have the pass rush that we are capable of having, when you consider the fact that Chop Robinson, I think, is going to take another step in his development, when you consider the fact that Jalen Phillips is back and Chubb is back, I think the defense is going to be better than advertised. And because I think we're great on the back end in terms of our safeties. And then, we're great on the front end with our defensive line. And then I didn't even bring up Zach Sealer and Kenneth Grant, Herbie. Like, I think the Dolphins on defense, especially in particular in the passing game, I think we're going to really, really, really give teams some problems, man. Because I think our pass rush is going to be a lot more ferocious, especially if the guys can stay healthy, right? And look, shout out to Wes, man. I'm high on Ollie too. I think Ollie will make a great third down, goal line, short yardage back for us, which we are in desperate need of that, bro. We've been in desperate need of that, right?
Most
But
definitely.
yeah, but things so far, Herbie, and when it comes to training camp and the Dolphins, look, it's the guys going up against their teammates. There's only so much that they can reveal, but there's been a lot of good. There has been a lot of positives to look forward to.
All right, so first things first, before we go ahead and I address something, man. Shout out to Ralph, man. Shout out to Rafi, man. Like, Rafi always showing love, man. You heard what the homie said, man. Hit that thumbs up, hit that like button, man. Let's run these numbers up, man.
Hit
This
that
is the
light.
beauty. This is the beauty of building something, bro. This is the most people that we've had in the chat, live viewership since we started this, bro. We seeing the building blocks come to fruition, man. So shout out to all the homies, man. Shout out to all the homies, man.
Big facts,
You
man.
already know you know you got to get them air horns and that clap, man.